My name is Lou. I'm the curator at Teen Heritage Centre in Teignmouth, and we worked with Jackie Oliver, who is a metal worker. She took the plans for the Morgan Giles boats and interpreted them in metal frames and hung that from the ceiling. It is just so different. She talked to the volunteers, she talked to the family of Morgan Giles and some of the people who worked for Morgan Giles when they were a boat builder in Teignmouth. And from that interpretation she did some enamelling, and some of that is actually attached to the metal framework. It's such a unique piece. I think one of the challenges was that we had a very short time frame to organise some of the events. So for instance, by the time Jackie was able to run workshops, the schools had already broken up for the summer holidays, so we weren't able to work with schools. We had to rely on getting families in during the school holidays, doing some cuttlefish casting with pewter, which was absolutely amazing. It was a wonderful experience to work with Jackie, as she is such an engaging artist and multi-talented. She is able to do so much more than just metalwork, and it was a really wonderful experience.
My name is Jackie Brooks and I'm from Bruton Museum, and we work with Dorcas Casey. We really enjoyed her coming and going. We gave her the keys so she could come and have a look whenever she liked, and we have an upstairs store so she was able to rummage around and spend time up there. And I think the volunteers enjoyed seeing her in the building. Anyone who comes to the door is very visible and you immediately have a relationship with them. So when she was there, she was quite visible, and people enjoyed that. We were lucky to have Dorcas because she's extremely good at talking to people and engaging people, and she made a quite a large, visible piece of artwork. You could just see its outline from the street, which was really intriguing and drew people in. Dorcas went upstairs to the store and spent some time up there, and she found a little aluminium jelly mould, and she went away and started to cast them with a kind of foam with oil painting to colour them. Her normal work involves making animals, usually from fabric. So what she created in the end was a large, probably life-size crocodile out of black fabric, onto which she put black jelly moulds as its scales.
We've been working recently with Andrea Oak. Obviously, the artwork that she did was beneficial to us, and she took that out into the community and to the local schools and demonstrated to us that in fact you don't have to use some of the old artifacts that we have. You can actually use some modern things. In her works she also incorporated some QR codes, which of course is modern technology, but we hadn't even explored that sort of thing. And as we've got a very interesting building, one of the things we've been wanting to do for a long time is to put up information about the building itself. These QR codes are giving us a nice clue as to how we can actually handle that sort of thing and get people to use their own phones. What she created was a couple of silhouette pictures, but she based this upon some old stories that are in some Axbridge documents. The exhibition she ran on there was about the history of writing. She made inks in the way that they used to from oak galls, and we used feathers for the quill pens and such like. So a number of different aspects to it like that, which were fascinating.
I think the museum has benefited in several ways actually from working with Taja on this project. I think it's been really exciting for us to actually have the opportunity to work with an artist. It's not something we've done before, so it's given us an opportunity to try new things and to try and extend our audience and get people who might not otherwise come into the museum get involved in quite a hands-on way as well. He's been very community-driven, which has been perfect for us. Taja created 3 pieces that hung from the hooks in our Victorian kitchen in the museum. He was really inspired by that, which I think is really lovely. And they've got pieces of his, he makes tableware. And he also worked with community college students in Kingsbridge to make pieces that they also were hung from the ceiling. People had about 35-40 minutes to make a pot out of porcelain, which is not something everyone's done. And also we did that with the volunteers as well, so they were able to have a go as well, which was really lovely. I think trying to get the word out there is probably the most difficult thing, so particularly for doing a new project, knowing where to tell people about it and making sure that people know what's going on. I think that's probably been the biggest challenge, getting people to come into the museum and see it. I think we just tried to kind of advertise as widely as possible and utilise some of the support from the project in particular, which is sort of improving our social media outlook particularly, tried some advertising and other bits and pieces like Facebook advertising as part of this project, which was really helpful. And visitor feedback is always really useful. How do people find out about the events, and then we know where to target next time as well.
Child Museum worked with Caitlin Heffernan, who's an artist in fabrics. Chard is a renowned town for lacework in the Victorian age. So she focused on the fact that lacework was often done by the women. The women worked on the looms, etc. So she felt it was important to bring to people's attention the important work that women did in this area. I think the major challenge we encountered, and it's a very simple thing, but because Caitlin was an artist who was not a local person, she had to do workshops and then leave us to do pieces of work ourselves. It was really a matter of careful planning so that we would know exactly what we were doing, and we would work to the dates that she was preparing. So we would do a parcel of work that when she then arrived to pull it all together, was put together and it worked. I think the biggest surprising outcome is seeing the other artists working in the other museums, because what's happened is they've all given rise to different ideas, and you can look at those ideas and you can then say, that would work at our museum. So it's not only what Caitlin's brought to our museum, but it's what the other artists have brought to the other museums. If I was to offer any other tips to museums who want to do the same thing, the first thing I would suggest is that don't be surprised if the artist produces something that's a little bit different. That's what you're wanting from them. You're wanting something out of the norm that will attract visitors in a different way.
Give yourselves plenty of time to plan, plenty of time to work with the artist in your museum so that they become part of the museum and can understand your collection and your audience as well, so that their artwork becomes really part of your whole museum collection.
When we had the private view of the opening, people really enjoyed coming, and we tried to do black food, which was good fun. You know, we tried to make it a sort of theme party to do with the black crocodile. And it made me realise how important those things are in a museum, to make people feel very welcome and feed them and give them drinks, and they'll go away wanting to come back.
Well, I think first thing is let the artist have freedom to explore what they want to do. Don't constrain them at all. Don't assume that art is just 2D, because it's very much 3D, and that artists have different ways of communicating with people, which is something that we can learn a lot from in the community. So I think those are 3 very positive aspects that have come out of this.
I think the top tip is it's a collaborative process. So I think the main thing is you've chosen artists through a process, and then you have to really allow them to go and be creative and do something completely different with your space, and to be really open-minded to the outcome of that. I think that's the real joy of it, and to really try and engage the volunteers particularly in that project so that they know what's going on, so that they're able to, they're your advocates in the community, they're your advocates for visitors, so they need to know what's going on and be able to share that information.